It's out, it's here. Final Fantasy VII Remake has officially released. Square Enix even shipped some physical copies early, which I can only applaud. As for me, well, I don't have a PS4, so I am left analysing the whole cast of characters whilst crying internally. I'll get over it when it no doubt comes to Steam a year from now. Even if I'm still not allowed to leave my house by then, at least there's something to look forward to. Given 2020 so far, I won't rule out the possibility of the Earth being hit by a meteor by the end of the year. But it was only logical to look at Aerith next, given the glowing response to my previous 3 FF7 themed videos, as the character, much like the previous trio, is one of the series' most popular and memorable heroes, despite limited screen time. Take that sentence as a spoiler warning for the rest of the video. I would definitely be revealing a big spoiler if you don't know much about Final Fantasy VII. Take the goddamn hint. Aerith was a huge part of FF7's story, establishing a heartbreaking arc which set the game's most pivotal events in motion. In fact, I'd probably go as far as saying she is probably the most tragic character in video game history. Congratulations on winning this prize, madame. Aerith, that's a poor anagram of Earth, super deep, subliminal eco-message there, is a character defined by her pure, colourful and playful character design, which complements her at times brash attitude, quick-wittedness and her overarching sense of whimsical mystery. Designed to be an opposite of Tifa on the surface, with a more conservative, less provocative appearance, her death at the hands of Sephiroth was a crushing blow for not only protagonist Cloud Strife, but also fans around the world. It felt so wrong to see the flower girl, with long ponytail, hair ties and pink dress, being dealt such a brutal card. Her character design was a cruel juxtaposition to the way she met her end at the end of Sephiroth's sword. The character had originally been planned to be the villain's sister, which was then changed to former lover, and then changed again when Zack entered the game's development. She had been planned to be one of 3 main cast members alongside Cloud and Barrett, and her death was intended to shake up the typical tropes that character designer Tetsuya Nomura found himself disliking in various media he had consumed worldwide. Despite her tragic end, the character still went on to shape the plot of FF7, and she's appeared a whole bunch of times since then with a number of amended designs. She's been featured in countless games as well as other bits of media, and today we'll explore how she's altered and where I think they really nailed this look to the best of their abilities. I'm the artist Mark Flynn, and today we'll find out which Aerith design I think truly is best. At this time, I'd like to ask that you please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell if you'd like to support these documentary style videos and help me push on to the goal I've set, 20,000 subscribers. There's a chance I may have done this before I finish editing this video. If so, I'll play a bit of victory fanfare. Before we get started today, I'd just like to say a special thank you to Skillshare, who have sponsored this week's episode. If you aren't familiar with Skillshare, they're an online learning community with thousands of courses available. I've mentioned them in the past, specifically animation and rigging courses that I've done, but there's tons of other genres available, ranging from graphic design, video editing, photography, music, you name it, they've got it. This week I looked at Design Great Stuff, How to Make Merch with Draplin. It was presented by Aaron Draplin, and it was a really engaging, really fun course to take online. It was really funny. The dude presenting it is easily as entertaining as any good YouTuber out there, and I learned a lot about how to actually refine some of the designs I was doing, simplify them, and how they can work along a whole series of merchandise. So as a YouTuber, merchandise is quite important. It's something I've thought about doing for such a long time. This course really did help me come to grips with it a little bit. I'm not 100% there yet, but through the process of doing the course, I was able to open up some files in Illustrator, refine them, and I feel like going forward, I'm a little bit closer to actually coming up with some solid merchandise ideas, and I can only sing the praises of the course. One of the great things I love about Skillshare is the ability to learn at your own pace. So even though these lessons can range from about an hour to 2 hours, you're able to change the speed that you watch the videos at. So I've watched actually quite a lot of the course at 1.5 times or 2 times speed, and it really was a great way of me taking in as much info as quick as possible. I've got really bad attention span, so it just kind of helped me keep focused and learn as much as possible in a short period of time. You can also come back to the chapters whenever you want, which is great if you don't want to do the whole lesson in one go. Luckily, this isn't an offer that's just open to me. Skillshare have been very generous and have offered the first 1,000 of my subscribers who click the link in the description a free 2-month premium membership so you can explore your creativity. 2 months is plenty of time to get on with Skillshare and learn a new skill, and I'm certain if you're looking at bettering yourself creatively, this would be a great use of your time. There's not much else to say, so thank you to Skillshare. Let's get back to the video. In her first game, as is tradition by this point, Aerith was established with more great Nomura anime-style artwork, with a suitable accompanying battle and low-poly overworld models. The artwork established her memorable features, which included long light brunette hair with similar looking bangs to Sephiroth. As well as this, she has emerald green eyes, which is a design hint towards her ties with the live stream, and the planet itself, a very important detail integral to the game's plot. As for her outfit, she wears a long pink button-up dress with an accompanying short red jacket, a necklace, brown boots, and metal braces on both her wrists and jacket sleeves. Most memorably for me, her hair is tied up by a large pink ribbon and is the perfect end to a wardrobe that makes her look far too pure and innocent for this world. We've spoken at length in the past about the strength of the in-game models given limited power. In the case of Aerith, I do think the complexities of her hair and dress do make expressing these finer details a bit more difficult. Though her bangles, dress and ribbon are featured prominently, the simplistic design made different costumes easy for the character, much like Tifa, as she is also featured as another wife choice for Don Corneo and in a few different younger childhood forms. Here she looks like a Girl Scout. Despite being different, these were easy to identify as the same character, thanks to the clearly established traits and the iconic hair that was synonymous with her design. FMV cutscenes throughout the game nailed the character perfectly, and rightfully so, as Aerith certainly was an important face throughout FF7's story. She kicks off the game as one of the first characters we see, and this cutscene really delivers a similar feel to Nomura's artwork. She is presented straight away with a sense of mystique and purity, and this follows into a number of other similar cutscenes, which makes that one scene in particular very hard to watch. Much like the rest of the FF7 cast, Yoshitaka Amano's artwork for her displayed her in a very different way. While much of the work was conceptual, seemingly coming at a stage when her and Sephiroth were maybe related, it still displayed her in a long dress with long hair, but other features that would come to be staples of her design, like her jacket and large ribbon, weren't present. Amano's artwork of her, like the rest of his work, feels much more grand and sophisticated, though it doesn't encapsulate the girl next door, down-to-earth vibe that the character's final FF7 design portrayed. I can't imagine the character would have worked nearly as well in the story if Nomura's refinements hadn't taken place. They humanise her much more than Amano's art does in my opinion, which makes her feel more like a generic fantasy princess. The original game established a likeable and memorable design for Aerith, and while she didn't go on to be playable in many games that followed, her popularity saw to it that she would be featured as much as possible. Her next appearance in the FF7 canon would come with Advent Children, and ironically, much like Sephiroth, who tormented Cloud with his memory and faithful appearance, Aerith would also be a burden on the lead character's mind, blaming himself for her death. In contrast to other living cast members, her appearance is authentic to the original game for the most part, appearing largely in mysterious ways via flashbacks and communicating quite literally from the live stream. The film gives us snippets of her design as we progress through the story, keeping her at a distance until the film's conclusion, with a clear shot of her finally being shown after Sephiroth has been put to rest. It's an amazing updated version of her original outfit in much higher quality fashion. Only small changes feature, such as new pockets on her jacket and leather belts in place of the bangles on her sleeves. The final scene where she is featured is probably the highlight of the film for me, and definitely encapsulates some of the character's otherworldly vibe that was present in some of the original game's FMVs. It's a fantastic recreation of her original design, and a perfect next step for her. The character would see a bit more development in both Final Fantasy VII prequels before Crisis and Crisis Core, the latter of which starred Aerith's former boyfriend Zack Fair as its lead character. These prequel games would take a look at Aerith's design before the main FF7 story took place, and in the case of Crisis Core would even give a bit of backstory as to how some of her outfit came about. In Crisis Core, she wears a blue-white dress this time around, with a red vest top underneath, maintaining some of her classic colour palette. She also wears pink wedge sandals petals, which allude to her love of flowers with their design, and she also has a number of flowers attached to her top. On a date with Zack as the game progresses, Aerith is given the pink ribbon that she wore in FF7 as a gift, and continues to wear this from this point onwards. It's likely that this, along with Zack's compliments of the colours suiting her, are what influenced her look in the original game. Nomura's concept art portrays this look well, with his sketch-based coloured style they wanted to portray with the character in this title. Before Crisis, the mobile game prequel to FF7 incorporates a similar design for the character, and while you probably wouldn't make things out too well from the absolutely horrific scaled down sprite work, Nomura's art portrays her in a pink, white and red top, with a frilly white and green skirt. Most notable to me is how they've included the look of her classic necklace and incorporated it in pink as part of her top. It's a nice little touch that alludes to some of her classic design traits. Outside of these games that are core, see what I did there? To the FF7 compilation, the character also appears most prominently in both the Dissidia and Kingdom Hearts series. In Dissidia Duodecim, I hope I pronounced that correctly, Aerith's inclusion is notable as the character makes a solo appearance in this PSP fighting game as a non-playable support character. Her original outfit is a recreation of her default FF7 appearance, from the dress to the jacket to the boots and bracelets. She does feature a few minor changes. For a start, her dress has an inner red stripe that runs through from the top to the bottom. Her necklace has been altered ever so slightly, and her jacket more closely resembles the version that was present in Advent Children. Her inclusion in the game is very comparable to how Tifa was featured in the same title. She looks like a suitably updated version of the original model from the PS1 into PSP/PS2 style graphics. As for her alternate outfits, this is another example of Dissidia drawing influence from Amano's artworks for the characters. In the case of Aerith, to me at least, her Amano styled alternate costume actually manages to give a bit of a better look at what he had originally intended her design to be. She wears a narrow light pink dress that is littered with silver linings, her jacket is replaced with puff sleeves, and her boots become less casual, swapping to a silver colour scheme with heels. It's a really interesting look at Amano's original concept for the character, and while I love its inclusion because of the history it brings, it definitely reminds me why I like Nomura's version so much. Her final outfit highlights Crisis Core as her blue and white dress make an appearance, looking like it came straight out of that title. Little tidbit here, but given my love for Dissidia NT's Tifa, I'm really disappointed that we didn't get to see how Aerith would have looked in this game too. In the Kingdom Hearts series, Aerith makes numerous appearances as a member of the story and an NPC. In the first game, her look is clearly inspired by her FF7 design. Her hair and ribbon look very similar to the past, as well as her pink dress being here on full display. Her necklace has been modified ever so slightly, looking like it's been double tied, and she now has a series of smaller bracelets that are only worn on one of her arms. She features a new purple belt with a similar look to her necklace, and she drops the jacket in its entirety. The overall look of her face reminds me a lot of Nomura's original artwork, with her eyes in particular looking very similar. In Kingdom Hearts 2, her design is altered quite significantly. Her outfit closely resembles what she wore in Before Crisis, though the dress section is now pink instead of green. Speaking of green, her eyes are a much bolder shade of it this time around, and features like her hair are a bit more natural versus the original game's look that encapsulated the hair vibes of her FF7 portrait artwork. She recently returned to the series in the Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind DLC, and it's a really interesting look at the character through a different lens. She wears the exact same outfit, but with the evolution of the PS2 to the PS4, graphically she has gone through a complete upgrade here. Given the style of the game's graphics in general, I'd say this is probably the closest to Pixar Aerith that we are ever getting. It's not personally how I envision the character, and it does make me wonder if they were holding off including the Final Fantasy characters so as to not diminish their appearances in FF7 Remake a few months later. I do imagine that's why Cloud, Sephiroth and Tifa were absent at least. But of course, outside of these big game releases, were an abundance of appearances by the character in a multitude of different spin-offs and mobile games. By this point, we've covered these games to death, so here's a quick highlight reel. She appeared with the fit rhythm chibi style across numerous games. I still despise this style. She appeared in Itadaki Street with a cutesy anime model and artwork. She featured in Pix Logica with another bobblehead styled world of Final Fantasy design. She graced both Dissidia Opera Omnia and Final Fantasy Explorers with probably the nicest renders and artwork from the cuter design concepts, and among Brave Exvius and other titles, she had pixel art looks, sometimes inspired by Final Fantasy 5 and 6. That was one hell of a paragraph. While not not her design technically, her outfit, like Tifa's, would go on to feature as a costume in Gunslingers 2, as well as in other games such as Little Big Planet 2 and Final Fantasy Lightning Returns. One of these is not like the other. By far my favourite appearance of her in a side game came with her cameo in Final Fantasy Tactics. I've mentioned in the past how this game saw Cloud get pulled into the world of Ivalice, but I didn't mention that he runs into a flower girl with a distinctively similar appearance. I mean, according to him, you would probably struggle to tell this is her from a distance. Her portrait highlights her similar appearance with her iconic hair in an amazing bit of pixel sprite work, though, like the rest of the civilians of this world, she of course has no nose. The modern day brings us Aerith Design of FF7 Remake, and compared to the rest of the characters we've looked at so far, she's definitely one of the more faithful updated characters. At a glance, I found it hard to notice any changes between her new design and old one. This looks exactly how I would have imagined the character to look in an upgraded art and graphic style. But upon closer inspection, the changes are apparent in the minor details. For a start, her design definitely does factor in a few of her changes from the character's development in past games and films. For example, the leather straps replacing the metal bangles on her jacket and a double wrap necklace. But outside of that, there are a number of new additions. While her jacket looks like the jacket of old, it now features star-shaped studs on the shoulders, and it functions as a zip-up jacket rather than a buttoned one. And the previously mentioned necklace features a flower in its centre. Her dress has been amended to include a white frilly portion at its bottom, and her metal braces have been fully replaced by gold, silver and bronze bracelets. I can say with more confidence than any other episode in this series to date, this is easily the best Aerith design to me. For a start, it is absolutely gorgeous and stands apart as one of my favourite models from the game in general, but more so than that, it looks exactly how I would have envisioned the character looking in an updated HD style. The new additions to the design make perfect sense. I love the new jacket as it looks incredibly contemporary. The zip-up design helps achieve this very well, and little changes such as the bangles and dress make the character feel much more modern without sacrificing any of her previous establishing features. Just taking a look at some of the original artwork upgraded to the modern day really sells me on this design. I can't wait to see more of Aerith when I'm finally able to get my hands on the game at some point. So that's it from me, but what did you think? Let me know in the comments section below, and do let me know if there are any designs you think I've missed. At this time, I'd like to thank my patrons who help make videos like this possible, with a special shout out going to Proggy Froggy and Smug Slade, who are donating at the top tier. If you'd like access to my exclusive Patreon podcast, or like to see your name featured in one of my videos, please head on by my Patreon. It's the best way you can support the channel.